Hi guys, I'm Sam from the Unity of Life and welcome back to my channel. And today we are looking at the Drive to Survive episode 3, and we are of season 3, which happened way back in 2020, which wasn't that long ago. So just a little bit of a recap. The whole world had gone still. They had this pre-testing season, and that's what episode 1 was a little bit about. And we had a few complaints going on within the teams in the very early season, and Lewis had ran into a tiny little bit of bad luck as well. He had like a penalty because he didn't see a yellow flag and he didn't slow down for it, and then he also got a 5-second penalty because of a little incident between him and Alex Albon on the track. And this episode focuses on Mercedes as a team, and it starts off with Bottas. It focuses on him to begin with. And he turned around and he said that even though he's on the podium, which like I said, he gets onto that podium quite a lot of the time, which in itself is an achievement, because if you remember in season 2 we found out that there are some Formula 1 drivers that never make it on the podium throughout their whole career. And you know, like I said, teams, their ultimate aim is to try and at least get 2 drivers onto the podium, if not 1. So even when Bottas is on the podium, if Lewis has won the race, so he's on the podium as well, Bottas still feels like he's lost. And I can kind of get where he's coming from, because there must be a lot of pressure to being that comes with being Lewis's teammate, because Lewis is a fantastic driver, and not only is he this fantastic driver, but he's like a huge inspiration as well to a lot of people. And in 2020 and to the present, you know, he's been pushing for this change, as you know, that Lewis is the only black driver in F1, and so he went over to America and joined in some of the Black Lives Matter protests, and he's been pushing for that sort of change of diversity in Formula 1 for some time now. So you know, he's one of the best drivers, definitely, that's out there, if not the best driver. And like I said, I might be slightly biased because he's British, and so am I, just a little bit. Anyway, so there's obviously that awful lot of pressure, even though Mercedes tries to treat everybody in their team as equally as they can possible. I know that Bottas has had a lot of negativity online. I mean, he's not the only driver that's had some negativity online, because I think every driver has some negativity online, especially on social medias, because trolls, unfortunately, they do exist. So then it then goes off to Lewis, and Lewis says he knows and he understands how hard it must be for Bottas, because Bottas himself, he is a very talented driver, and that's probably why he is racing for Mercedes. But like I said, it has to be just a little bit frustrating when you don't win, because like we've discovered throughout all of this, that's just the goal of every driver, it's to win. And even if they do get onto this podium and they get a really good result, it's still not the best for them, and they still feel a little bit down, and they take it very hard if they don't win or if they don't finish a race, because they have personal goals as well as team goals, and every driver wants to be the best driver. So ultimately, every single driver wants to be winning the race and wants to be on the podium and in that number 1 place. So people have speculated and have asked in the past whether or not Mercedes have a number 1 driver and a number 2 driver, because a lot of people have suspected that maybe Mercedes favourites Lewis and the over Valtteri, and Valtteri's actually their number 2 driver. So when Toto, who is like CEO and he's pretty much he's in charge of the team, when he was asked this, he basically responded with a big F you. And so basically he didn't want to answer that question, because the whole thing that Mercedes they're saying in a way, the way that they present themselves is that they're like one big happy family, and that nobody's better than anybody else. They don't favour one driver over another. That they're a team and they all have to work together. Like I said, this is a really weird spot, because even though you are part of a team and you have a teammate, your teammate is your biggest competitor on the race, because you have the exact same car. So that's where talent comes into it, and you are competing against your teammate for the World Championship, which only goes to the driver, and the Constructors' Championship obviously goes to the whole of the team. So it's a weird sport, because in most sports you work as a team, you've got your teammates, and you're not generally working against them or competing against them, unlike in this one. So Bottas said he hates being second, and Lewis knows how hungry Bottas is for his first World Championship title, because so far, as much as Bottas is a great driver, he's never actually quite achieved being a world champion. So in Russia, way back in 2018, Toto asked Valtteri to let Lewis pass, and Lewis won the race. So this one incident must have been really hard, very disappointing for Valtteri, because the last thing you really want to do is let your teammate overtake you, because it means that they've got a chance of winning, especially if you're like right at the front, and then you have to let them overtake and you have to win. However, that decision is taken out of your hands half the time, and the team is doing what they think is best for the team to get the maximum points. And sometimes I think it does seem as if there's a little tiny bit of favouritism going on there. So Lewis also said that he understood how hard and frustrating it must have been for his team, but he said he did for his teammate, but he did a great job out of there, and he is well deserved to win, and would have deserved to win. I think the difference between these two as teammates compared to Max Verstappen and his teammates is that even though Red Bulls, they're a team, they seem to pit their drivers against one another. From my opinion anyway, from what I've learnt from this past series, that that might not actually be the case, but from me as an outsider looking in, that's just how it seems. It seems as if they do put them against each other, and that there is a lot of rivalry that does go on within that team and between the teammates, which doesn't seem to quite happen with Valtteri and Lewis, because Lewis seems to be a very understanding guy and seems to understand exactly how Bottas is feeling and where he is coming from. So Bottas was quite angry at that day, and he actually thought of quitting Formula 1 because he was that angry, as we obviously know that he never did that. But it can show you how highly emotional that this sport can be. And what can happen if your emotions are running high and you make rash decisions. So for the Russian Grand Prix of 2020, fans were actually finally allowed to go watch, because don't forget at this time countries had different restrictions and different rules. Because some countries had less cases than others. So Valtteri actually toured Max in the Russian qualifying, putting himself into third. this was only the qualifying. So what a tour is that, from my limited understanding, is where a driver is being pulled and saving their energy by the car in front of them because of the wind force. So they're not having to work as hard, and it gives them that extra speed and that extra power to be able to overtake. So when Bottas was asked why he gave Max this tour and put himself into third during qualifying, he said that only he knows why he did it, and he did do it on purpose, but being third gave him that advantage over Lewis, because sometimes when you start off in qualifying, you've got a better position to win. You don't necessarily have to be in pole. It all depends on the track, from what I can gather. Not that obviously the rest of Mercedes was very happy with Bottas's decision, but that's what happened. And Lewis has said that it's important to have the support of your teammate. However, he's raced with friends before, which didn't end a lot well, and the whole one winner can put a strain on a friendship. So yeah, it would be nice. It's good. Yeah, you kind of want to have that a good enough relationship with your teammate, because you are working on the same team. You are going to be working with similar strategies, and yeah, it's still about teamwork, even though you're racing against each other. And I think if anybody is a fan of Mercedes or Lewis, you'll know that the friend that he was racing against, who was his teammate, was Nico was it Rosberg? I think that's right. And as you know, that friendship was a bit strained behind the scenes anyway. Sabata said that he's selfish sometimes, but if he wasn't, then he wouldn't have gotten to where he is now. And I think the whole selfishness that he's referring to is mainly on the track and always wanting to be the best that he possibly can and to win. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I think it's the same thing for every driver. I think every driver is possibly a little bit selfish sometimes when they're on the track, because like I said, their ultimate goal is to be the best. So like I said, Nico was Lewis's ex-teammate, and he got interviewed because I actually believe that he does commentary for F1 now. I could be wrong, but he spoke about when he won his first championship way back in 2016. And he said that particular victory was even sweeter since he had beaten Lewis. So for those who may not be aware, Nico and Lewis have known each other since they were like 13 years old, and they were even teammates when it came to karting. So they've known each other for quite some time, and they were friends. But once they became teammates in Formula One, there was a rivalry that began to start, because like a lot of teams have said, and a lot of drivers, that your teammate does tend to be your biggest rival, and it was no different between these two. Nico then also said that sports are about psychology and exploiting others' self-doubt, which is quite a bit manipulative and a little bit dark, if you ask me. Yeah, that's very. It's a very scary thought to think that your teammate, who you consider a friend, is only trying to be a friend to try and find any of these self-doubts and use them against you. I'm not saying that's what happened, but that whole idea is a little bit unsettling. So one thing that I did notice was that, like I said, a lot of these drivers seem to have like performance coaches or people that they sort of talk to that follow the driver from team to team, and sometimes these are like cousins of the drivers or they're friends of the drivers. But they're all, from what I've noticed, they're all generally a male, but Lewis has a female performance coach known as, I believe her name is Angela, and I just think that's absolutely awesome because, you know, I would think that she was an inspiration to a lot of women out there as well, because she's certainly is in a job where she's maybe possibly the only woman. I don't know, because I don't know enough about our drivers' backgrounds and things like that to be able to confirm that. But it is pretty clear that Lewis and Angela have a really good and very strong friendship, which is always nice to see. So there was a comment on social media that really got to Bottas, and he explained that this anger and this resentment that some people had against him, that only motivated him to try and race better. Which I don't think there was any need whatsoever for anybody to be mean and to be vulgar and to be nasty to anybody at all. I mean, like I said, I know you're not going to like everybody, but it blows my mind that people that you've never met before in your whole entire life, you are just vile and nasty about. Because there's a lot of things that are going on that you don't see, that you don't know about, and you certainly don't know the state of somebody's mental health when you put these things, and you don't know if they're going to be the tip of the iceberg and going to drive somebody over the edge. So just be aware of that when you're gonna comment on somebody's post. Just think about what it is that you're going to say and how that might affect that person, because at the end of the day, they are a person and they do have feelings, just like me and you. So in one race, I'm not sure which one this is, I don't know if we're still talking about Russia or not, but in one particular race in the 2020 season, Lewis got a 10-second penalty for his practice start, and he went into the pits, so he had to pay it when he went into the pits. So he went from being first to 11th. And Bottas said that Lewis' penalty was good for him, not for Lewis but for Bottas, and that he didn't want to give up on that win. So he thought that was in his favour. And so Bottas actually did win that race. Lewis actually finished third. So considering he obviously was first and then he got dropped back to 11th, to get all the way back up to third is a huge achievement. And Max was second. So Lewis has always said that he has a target on his back. He didn't go into specifics of why he thinks he's had a target on his back, whether or not because it's a race thing, because he is the only black driver, or if it's because he's so successful in this sport and everything that he does, and people are just jealous, or it's a bit of both. I suspect it probably is. Unfortunately, it is a little bit of both. But like I said, he never specified. So yeah, I mean, Toto went to the stewards to try and defend Lewis, which, you know, that's his job to do. And plus, him and Lewis, they're also really good friends. I think everybody in Mercedes, they all seem to be pretty close, which is nice to see. And Bottas then said he felt extremely satisfied to have beaten Lewis in this race. So that's all we've got for that episode. I know it was a little bit longer than the other two. We're just making it up, I suppose, for time. That's all I have got for today. We're gonna, in the next video, we're gonna have a look at episode 4, and that looks as if this is on Ferrari. So one of the other bigger teams. Then we're gonna have a look at. And if you have liked everything that I've talked about in this particular video, or you've been enjoying the content that I've been uploading so far, then here's my face down here. Click on it and you can subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell, which you will then be notified every Wednesday and Tuesday when I upload a video. All the F1 content that I have done will be on here, so you can click on that and you can explore that, and don't forget to comment down below of what you think, and your thoughts and your opinions of what has been discussed, and don't forget to share with all your friends, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.